When I tell you this film shook me to my core, oh my god. It's called The Kid and the Camera, and it's about a little boy who meets a sleep fairy outside his window in the middle of the night. And then shit gets hella fucking dark. 6-year-old Caleb is so excited when he gets a camera for his birthday that he immediately starts taking pictures of everything around him. So when he trips and falls and breaks his camera, he's so devastated that he lays awake at night, consumed with thoughts of his camera. He hears knocking at his window, pulls back the curtains, and finds a creature called the Kipsneed smiling down at him. Apparently, the Kipsneed is a sleep fairy who makes sure all the kids are getting enough sleep, but he's noticed that Caleb hasn't been sleeping properly lately and wants to know why. Caleb says he's not supposed to talk to strangers, but the Kipsneed insists that he isn't a stranger. In fact, he knows every child in the world and their parents. He even knows Caleb's name, so he can't be a stranger. This is enough to convince Caleb to tell him all about his broken camera. But luckily, this is an easy fix for the Kipsneed, because there's a factory in his home world that can do this for Caleb. The Kipsneed tells Caleb to follow his voice and he'll lead him to the portal to his world. As Caleb follows the Kipsneed's voice out of his home and through the forest, he takes photos along the way so he doesn't get lost. Eventually, Caleb is led to an abandoned house, and even though it's dark and scary, the Kipsneed's voice is calling him closer. Caleb is terrified, but all he wants is to get his camera fixed, so he heads inside the home and goes into the basement. He finds the Kipsneed, but the Kipsneed seems a little different than he did just a few moments ago. That's when Caleb hears human footsteps, and when he turns around, there's a man standing behind him, dressed in all black. Weeks later, authorities find the abandoned house, and all they can find of Caleb are his feet. The rest of his body was never found. I was not expecting this ending at all, and I was not expecting this film to be so damn dark, but you guys know my vibe. You know what I like. So I liked it. It was creepy. It was chilling. Just go watch it on YouTube. It's so good. I love how this film utilized the cartoon images in the beginning. It's as if we were seeing things from the mind of a child. Everything was cute and colorful. The narrator recited the film like a bedtime story. It's like the story itself was trying to lure the watcher into a false sense of safety and security, just like the predator did to Caleb. It wasn't until the end where we were actually introduced to the reality of the situation. The moment Caleb snapped the first picture after leaving his home, everything became real. Everything turned dark and grim, and we were finally seeing what was actually happening from the eyes of someone who understood that this wasn't a fantasy with a magical fairy. This was a story about a predator manipulating the mind of a child, and unfortunately, Caleb fell into his trap. I knew this film was going to get dark, but I did not expect that ending. It's called The Man with No Mouth, and it's about a boy named Timothy who befriends the monster living in his backyard. But then one day, Timothy invites him into the house, and that's when everything goes horribly wrong. Timothy is sitting at his computer trying to complete his math homework when he hears whistling coming from outside his window. And when he goes to check where the whistling came from, he finds a man with no mouth standing in the bushes staring at him. And at first he thinks it's weird. Why is there a naked man watching him from his garden? But when the man begins giving Timothy the answers to his math homework, it's enough for Timothy to overlook the strangeness of the situation. And eventually, Timothy no longer fears this strange, mouthless man. In fact, he believes they're now friends. That's when the man asks to come inside, but Timothy is still a little hesitant. It's why instead of inviting the man into his room, Timothy invites him back the next day so they can talk just like they are now. But another day means more math, and today is the hardest equation Timothy has ever received. The first thing he does is ask the man for help. When he receives no response, Timothy thinks, hey, maybe his new friend just needs to have a closer look. And that's when Timothy invites the man inside. It's only then where Timothy asks the question that's been on his mind since the day he noticed the man outside of his window. If the man has no mouth, then how did he whistle? But the man never said he didn't have a mouth. That's when the man's lips crack apart, revealing the large gaping hole in his face. He grabs Timothy by the head, chomps his head off, and swallows it whole. This is a horrifying tale of stranger danger, a tale of predatory predatory relationships. We know the man with no mouth had been watching Timothy for a while. It's why he knew exactly what window to stand by. He knew exactly when and how to get Timothy's attention. He understood Timothy was a child and executed the steps needed to gain Timothy's trust. Timothy was like prey to him, and like a predator, the man with no mouth coaxed him close enough to attack. I think that eating Timothy's head was a way for it to establish its dominance. Timothy wasn't good at math, nor did he have the situational awareness to understand he was in danger. And I think the man with no mouth understood this and ate his head as a way to establish that he was smarter than Timothy in every way. And because of this, he was able to dominate and destroy his prey. When Oliver goes to visit his aunt and uncle, he expects to have a chill weekend in the suburbs. Unfortunately for Oliver, that's not what happens. If you like The Kid in the Camera, you're going to love this short film. Oliver heads down to his aunt and uncle's for the holidays, and of course they're thrilled to see him, so they put him in a room and everything would be perfect had it not been for the creepy ass human-sized teddy bear chilling in the dresser. Oliver's like, what the fuck is that? And his uncle's like, oh, that's just Mr. Bobo. Me and your dad used to play with him all the time. And even though Oliver's uncle says Mr. Bobo is harmless, Oliver is not convinced. So imagine his horror when he wakes up in the middle of the night and Mr. Bobo is gone, only to find him back on the dresser by the next morning. Eventually, Oliver becomes so sick of this creepy ass doll that he throws a toy at it, causing it to fall off the dresser. That's when a red light blinks in Mr. Bobo's eye, and when Oliver takes the eye out, he finds a camera, revealing that he was being watched the entire time. And before he can get away, his uncle comes by and sees what Oliver had done. And because Oliver had been a bad boy, he must be punished. It's why his uncle hangs him in the basement, leaving Mr. Bobo there to watch him suffer. This was so creepy, and I had no idea where this film was going. I thought the doll was going to come alive, or maybe it was possessed or something. What I didn't expect was for the actual villain to be so real. And maybe that's what this film is about. Maybe it's to show that real monsters are a lot closer than you think. This film might also be a metaphor for generational trauma, because at one point, Oliver's uncle says him and Oliver's dad used to play with Mr. Bobo as kids. And maybe this is a continuation of the cycle of abuse they experienced as children at the hands of their own parents. An astronaut on a space mission misses his family, but the longer he's up there by himself, the lonelier he becomes, and eventually he's forced to face the nightmare he ran away from. This short film is called Nightingale. It explores grief and the horrors of reality. It's so good, so you should go watch it on YouTube. John is an astronaut on a one-man space mission, and as he logs his 246th day in space, he can't help but think about how much he misses his family back on Earth. But when he goes to sleep, John is confronted by the horrors he left behind. Before he embarked on a space mission, him, his wife, and his daughter were all in a horrific car accident, resulting in his daughter losing some of her limbs along with half of her face. Now, every time John goes to sleep, he has nightmares about the horrific event. So imagine his shock when he wakes up and finds his daughter's stuffed animal on the ground. Then he hears laughing. Understanding that there's not supposed to be anyone else on the ship, he follows the noise and comes face to face with his disfigured daughter haunting him on the ship. And when she asks him what happened to his arms, he starts to hallucinate. Suddenly, his arms are gone and only bone remains. He runs into another room. The door shuts behind him. His daughter is following him, but the door won't open. And now that they're separated, things are changing. His daughter looks different. Her face is back, and she's asking him to come back to her. Suddenly, he's thrust back into the past, and finally we're shown the truth. He was the one who suffered horrid injuries the night of the crash, not his daughter. He's in a coma, and his space mission isn't real. And when the spaceship door opens and thrusts him into space, that is the moment his family pulls the plug. Not only was the animation really cool, but there are some really cool details throughout the film. His 246 journal entry signifying how many days he's been in a coma. The name of his spaceship was actually the name of the hospital he's in. Him thinking his daughter was the one who got hurt because he didn't even know that his version of reality wasn't actually real. It's so sad because his daughter's voice was what pulled his subconscious back to reality. And it's horrifying when he realized he could hear everything around him and had to slowly come to the realization that his family was letting him go. But at the same time, it made me wonder about what you even do in these situations. His family held on for almost an entire year, and there was no change. At the same time, would his family have even been able to care for him had he woken up? A huge chunk of his head was gone, his limbs are gone. Had he lived, not only would he have to suffer the physical repercussions of the accident, but he'd be traumatized by the mental ones as well. The entire situation was just really sad. But the animation was really good.